get hyped, everyone. It's time for possibly the best night of round 3 here. Pro League, my name is Wolf. With me is Moon. We're starting things off with the Telecom Wars.
We are indeed, Wolf. And yeah, as you said, tonight it should be the best night of this round. It's got all the top teams playing off against each other, and the lineups are just amazing. They're perfect lineups. It's what you dream of.
These are the lineups of dreams. You know, when you look at all the players that are playing today, you just think, wow, it's like almost every single great player. One of the top, you know, every top player in the world in StarCraft 2 is like playing today. Almost all of them. You know, because these are basically it's historically the two best teams in StarCraft 2. We're starting things off with Dream versus Zest. Imagine that to begin with.
It doesn't get better than that, man. I'm so excited to see how Dream's TVP is coming along, because he does have that big match on Thursday in Star League as well.
Yeah.
At best of 5, or best of 7 actually, I believe, coming up. So
yep.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And see if Zest can get some redemption, man. Losing to Creator in his last match, I believe.
Yeah, Zest has had some rough times recently. He's just not been as consistent as he has in the past. You know, in fact, this round he's 2-2. They have a weak record. He was 3-3 last round, and in round 1, 6-5. So just in general, the guy has been about 50-50 for his team, whereas in the past, he's been kind of an anchor, even an ace player. So
yeah, he's definitely fallen quite far. He actually did beat Myungshik in his last match in a PvP, but then he lost to Stats in Star League, and here we are. He's up against some monster Dreams, up-and-coming kid who's just been playing so well, especially in this matchup.
Yeah, looking incredible. And the question is Dream going to show a normal macro game today? Is he going to try to cheese him? Does he want to hide strategies for his upcoming Star League match? There's a lot of things to think about when you look at this, because Star League is so important for Dream right now. He wants to get to the finals again, and this time win it and not fail as he did against Maru.
Yeah, but you got to wonder as well what the priorities of the team are. Are they pressuring him to do well in the team league, or are they happy to let him kind of do something a little different in this team match, and then let him focus on that Star League match?
Yeah, that's the question. You know, there's a lot of different things that go into this. They might just say, hey, you know, don't do a snipe, or don't do like a tricky build, don't do a proxy on this map. Just play a straight up macro game. There's not much, super much you could study off just one game being played.
Yeah, yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he's going to play there. He's had a lot of great success recently against Protoss. He's beaten Classic and Stats in recent times. And here's a look at today's first match.
Yeah, it's going to be starting things off with Dream versus Zest, as we were just talking about. Then we're going into a TBT with Innovation versus Flash. Innovation not being as consistent recently either, just kind of like Zest. And of course, we're going into Classic versus Life. Classic dominating Bjell in Star League, so Life going to have a tough time ahead of him, especially because he's been having a bit of a slump in not only Pro League, but in Star Leagues as well, both the GSL and SSL.
It seems to be the trend in Zergs in general. And then you got lost off Dark versus Stats. Also going to be a tricky one for Dark. A lot of Zergs just, you know, haven't really figured out how they're going to deal with Protoss in the late game. And we saw that again yesterday in a couple of the PvZs. There's just no real solid answer unless you're going to surprise them with a tech switch or have a ridiculous bank to use in the late game.
I mean, we've seen a lot of Zergs try to resort towards all-ins or timing attacks, from Speedling all-ins to Roach timing attacks. Even we saw Departure do a crazy burrow Roach movement timing attack versus Hero that had success. But in the late game, Zergs just aren't winning. It's just not happening.
It just doesn't happen anymore, and we will surely see that when Classic plays. But here's a look at the team rankings. I'm leading the way here, Wolf. I'm the host today, mate. SKT1 with 3-0 so far, so they're looking to make it 4-0. They can cause a bit of a solid victory over KT.
Yeah.
Jinner, and going to be playing up against CJ, who is down the bottom in rank 7. Wow.
Yeah, that's a bit rough for CJ. It's been their worst round since last year. So looking to take a win today a little bit later on, but talk about that one as it gets closer. As you can see, Maru and Hero still tied up here at the top of the winners ranking, but Stats, who's playing today, has the potential, if he plays in an ace match, of catching up and tying things up. Bjell as well, who'll be playing a little bit later on. Life and Zest, so all these players right on the heels that are actually playing today.
Essentially, yesterday when we had a look at them at the end of the day, we said basically everyone in that top 10 is going to be playing tomorrow. So we're going to see a lot of ranks change up after these two matches happen.
Yeah. Just taking a look, Dark is in this list as well. Classic, Dream, like pretty much everyone in this list is playing today.
It's so funny.
All right, so SK Telecom T1's the only team without a loss in the third round. And KT Rolster is challenging to be the top team for the first time in 2015. win today, of course, would put them in first place. So, something to think about. They would get that positive indicator.
It actually would be the first time. It's kind of funny considering they are the champions of last year.
Yeah.
Just haven't really found that traction. Going to be going to that interview, Wolf.
Yeah, we're going to hear what these coaches have to say.
KT롤스터의 강동현 감독, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
네. 자, 이영경 씨는 언제 봐도 이 신경전이 치열한 두 감독님이라고 이야기를 해주셨는데 또 요즘에 들어선 딱히 그렇지도 않거든요. 하지만 두 분에게 공통적으로 드리고 싶은 질문이 있습니다. 최근 들어서 저그 선수들이 굉장히 힘들어하는데
Zergs are having a hard time
저그
recently.
선수들이 연습실에도 또 실제로 그렇게 힘들어하는지 먼저
Are they actually having a hard time in practice as well in the team house?
이게 좀 많은 분들 해설자 분들께서도 말씀 많이 하시고 게이머도 많이 말을 했는데
A lot of people, including casters and fans, are saying that Zerg is having a tough time after the Swarm Host patch.
저는 못 봤는데 혹시 보신 분들 있을지도 모르니까.
I haven't seen any Swarm Host usage since the patch.
원래 의견 어필을 안
I don't think anyone's seen it on TV either.
이렇게 말하고 싶습니다.
뭔가 마무리가 된 것 같지 않지만 어떤 의도에서 어떤 이야기를 해주셨는지 확실히 좀
he just wants to leave it at that. He doesn't actually have much. He's trying to be political here. Is basically what he's saying, even admitting to it.
쓰는 친구들은 있긴 한데 실전에서
They use Swarm Host in the practice house, but I never saw players use it in real matches. Life even took out the hotkeys for Swarm Host. He didn't need the hotkey, so he actually took it out of his keyboard. Wow. I feel your life.
고민하지 않을까라는 생각이 듭니다. 일단 그리고 최원성 감독님에게 다시 한번 질문 드릴게요.
Maybe Blizzard will think it over after this interview.
그때 당시에
Fingers crossed.
SK가 조금 더
I think we've all got our fingers crossed for this one.
패배를 했단 말이에요. KT전은 항상 부담이 되시는지 물어보고 싶습니다.
So, how do you feel going into the Telecom Derby? Do you feel any specific pressure going into this? Because this is, of course, a big rivalry here in Korea. We played each other a ton of times. We both have actually won and lost, so of course it's a very stressful and tense stage for us.
준비를 하더라도 뜻대로 안 흘러가는 경우가 좀 많이 있더라고요. 그래서
So the matches tend to actually not go as we plan when we play against KT. Maybe because we feel more nervous, we feel more pressure playing against such a strong team. But we're sure that we're going to meet in the postseason and hopefully get to the finals. So we're just going to have to take that pressure, that nervousness into ourselves and try to overcome that pressure.
네, 특히나 그 조중혁 선수의 일정이 되게 이번 주 빡빡하잖아요.
And I hope today's results are good for us.
1세트에 내보내는데 약간 고민이 되시지 않으셨는지.
선수가
Still hearing from SKT here.
이런 말을 많이
They're talking about sending Dream out in the first set.
그래서 그럴 때 더 기회 많이 주고 개인전 프로리그 다.
So Dream's been playing very well recently. He's doing well in individual leagues, also in Pro League. So that's why he decided to send him out as the first player.
강동현 감독님도 최현석 감독과 비슷한 느낌일 것 같은데
Not a bad choice at all.
KT롤스터와 SK텔레콤 TO는 계속해서 만나야 되는 상대잖아요. 그러면은 이길 때마다 좀 확실하게 임팩트 있는 모습을 보여주고 싶을 것 같아요. 어떠신가요?
최현성 감독이
How do you feel about playing against SKT?
네, 지난주에는 굉장히 삼성 상대로 강팀이 약팀이 이런 얘기 하던데 오늘은 무슨 얘기인지 모르겠네요.
When we played, when SKT played against Samsung, he looked very confident.
3라운드 처음으로 패배를 했잖아요. 나머지 경기 다 완벽한데
He thinks that SKT are the person not being too honest today.
어느 정도인지.
사실 저도 SK
He doesn't really want to show his true mind in the interview.
진에어한테 많이 지긴 했는데 진에어한테 맞은
He thinks SKT is a strong team.
알겠습니다.
마지막으로 질문 하나만 더 드릴게요. 개인적인 질문인데 강동현 감독이 가장 최근에
And we lost to Jin so, but we're going to have to pay that back to the SKT team.
SNS를 다시 시작하고 계신 것 같은데 계기가 있었나요 혹시?
저 원래 했고요.
원래 하셨는데 한동안 안 하시다가
아니요, 재민이 캐스터랑
You recently started SNS again.
그렇군요, 확실했습니다.
I always use SNS.
그런 건 개인적으로 물어봐요.
We're friends. You should know that.
저한테 늦게 친구 죄송합니다. 제가 보다 활발한 SNS로 활동을 하도록 하겠습니다.
이영호 선수한테만 관심 있죠?
He's asking the casters to add him as a friend
저기
on SNS.
항상 제가 느끼는
Yeah, I
건데,
actually don't remember what his
질문을
ID is
좀,
on Twitter actually.
좀 순번이나 이런 식으로 좀 하는데 기분이 좀 나쁘네요 지금. 제가 그 강도경 감독한테
So SK Telecom coach is saying basically he actually is. It kind of messes with his mood. He actually makes him feel like he's in a bad mood. He doesn't feel good about what the KT coach has
원하기
said.
때문에 제가 말을 안 했는데
제가 먼저 했잖아요. 하세요.
제가 같은 사람이 되지 않기 위해서
The KT coach obviously wants me to provoke him, so I'm actually not going to. I'm not saying anything.
프로야구에서도 벤치 클리어인이 나왔다.
I don't want to fall into his trap.
뭐 그런 게 나올 수도 있으니까. 조만간 이 부스 안에서 선수들이 그 열정을 한번 불태울 수 있지 않을까 이런 생각이 드네요.
충분히 감독님에 대한 그 전투 의지가 지금 불타고 있는 상황이고 그 선수들이 다 보답을 해줘야 되는 지금 상황이거든요. 네, 오늘
So both
선수들의
coaches
멋진
seem
경기력을
very
기대를 해봐야
tense
될 것
going into this
같습니다.
match.
자, 양태 감독님 여기서 인터뷰를 마무리해도 되겠죠? 네, 인터뷰 감사합니다.
All right, that's
네,
all
멋진 경기
the coaches have to
부탁드리겠습니다.
say. The tension is very high. You can feel it though, you know, especially actually when Oop was talking at the last moment. He was just like, I'm not going to give him what he wants. I'm not. And we're going to win this match today.
Yeah, he did seem to be a little hot under the collar.
Sure.
We actually saw that. It might have even been yesterday. These players, it was between Toya and Legend. They're kind of having a bit of a back and forth, and by the end, both of them were pretty angry. So they're getting into it these days. Things are heating up, man. Halfway through the year.
Legend and Toya have such a history as well. Those guys.
Should be an interesting match today, though. Yeah, a lot on the line.
Yeah, a lot on the line. Pride on the line. Really, that first place spot in our current team rankings on the line as well. And you know, if KT wins, they're going to have to win with at least a +2 to tie the score, though, because it's a +5 indicator currently for SKT. Or no, +2 would actually get them into the lead. But they're gonna, if they just win it, they're gonna tie at a +4 if they just win by 1 in an ace match. So no matter what, they're gonna at least tie, but with a good score, they would get ahead. So basically, the winner of this is gonna take first place. We're gonna take a look at our predictions though for this first match and see what people had to say. I know what you and I had to say on this one.
Well, even Brendan, man, we all had the same kind of votes going into this one. Everyone going for Dream except for one.
Yep, it's actually a Monday caster.
Yeah.
In June, one of our announcers. He's decided to go for Zest here. Now, Daehyun has actually taken first place again here, whereas almost everyone else is tied at 63.6. I had a rough day of predictions yesterday. I got almost all of my predictions wrong.
Yeah, it was a pretty tricky day. A couple of upsets and a couple of unexpected things happened. That's the name of the game when it's best of one Starcraft, man. You're never going to get them all right.
Oh, definitely not. All right, Dream, you look at his 1-1 score versus Cross. That does not tell the story of how good this guy is in the matchup. If you look at his individual league results, 6-3 in Pro League. He hasn't played in every single Pro League match that SKT has actually played. And honestly, this guy's stats that you see on screen really don't show you how good of a player this guy is.
Oh, absolutely not. This guy, in recent times, he's been doing so well. Against Protoss specifically, I mean, he's beaten Classic recently in Star League. He defeated Stats 3-1 in Kesper Cup. And those are like the last two Protoss he ended up playing. I think he might have played one in GSL Code S, which was Patience. Dominated him as well. Besides that, you know, he's been beating Life, beating BL, doing fantastic in every matchup. I didn't know what Zest is going to be able to do against him, man. He hasn't got the greatest stats or the greatest track record this round.
No, he does not, man. He's 11-10. He's been 50-50 pretty much this whole season. And he's got a negative record versus Terran, a negative record versus Dream as well at 1-2. And I don't know, man. I think he's going to have to try to do something a bit aggressive, a bit cheesy, maybe even on Echo here. This two-player map, this smaller map.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, even his recent records, he lost to Mario in his last match against Terran in Pro League. He lost to Fantasy in the Kesper Cup 2-3. So, yeah, not doing too well. He might have to actually bring out something pretty aggressive.
I wouldn't even mind seeing Proxy Oracle on this map, to be honest. Something like that would be pretty good for me. All right, these two players are in the lobby. They're ready. Let's jump into game number 1. Here are the Telecom Wars, Dream versus Zest. Up here in the top left in blue, it's Dream for SKT. Dreamer. Cheer up.
Down here in the bottom right for KT, Zest.
There he is. The Quacka.
They got a Quacker here.
So
that was too big to read.
Yeah, I was just saying like GG girls are cheering for him and stuff. Just basic.
Well, clearly not everyone. I mean,
not all of them.
Not all of them. Just her.
But this map is a smaller one. You know, you can hold on to 3 bases relatively easily as a Protoss. If you know, once you get your upgrades out and you get that Colossus tech, as most Protosses are going for, it's really the 2-base Terran and the aggressive drop play that you have to be worried about.
Yeah, there's a lot of aggression on this map, but it's not as bad as, you know, like Vani Research. It doesn't have that massive airspace to your natural, anything like that. A little bit less than some of the other maps, so you can defend just that little bit easier. Another good thing for Terran on this map is that little backdoor ledge that you can jump a Reaper up into and get a decent scout off. But it looks like Dream is simply going to go for that CC first.
Yeah. I did not expect to see this, but it's one of those things that you wouldn't expect to see from Dream in a best-of-1 like this, and I kind of like it. Messes with Zest a little bit, and it doesn't show too much of his style going into Star League. You wouldn't expect to see a Terran going CC first on this 2-player map, just simply because a lot of players probe scout, and if you probe scout versus CC first, you can actually, you know, harass it and delay it. We're going to see that happen right now.
Yeah, it's going to do a little bit of damage. Going to force down a couple more SCVs. But shouldn't be too game-breaking. 2 go down. First, Rax finishes.
Oh,
he might lose that.
So close.
Goodness.
He could still lose it if he doesn't repair it.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll repair it and maybe turn it around in the probe. It's going to force out the repair at the very least. And look at that. Refinery. I'm pretty sure that got scattered out as well. So it kind of tells a lot about what the follow-up is going to be for Dream. It's not going to be that 3 racks before gas. It's going to be a very quick gas into tech. So leaves you vulnerable early on.
It's true. Keep in mind that the follow-up to this from Zest, as soon as he scouted that, was to just pull 1 probe out of gas and delay his Cyber Core just to get the faster Nexus. So he delays the CC. His Nexus isn't too far behind. And he tries to get this kill. Nearly gets it, but not going to be enough, and he loses the probe.
Wow, ambitious there. And it's going to be a Marine to start things off. I wonder if he's simply going to go straight into Factory from this and maybe start applying pressure through drops.
I would expect so.
Such a greedy opening. And get that bunker down quick as well.
And he's, the funny thing about this, too, is he's done all this without scouting, right? So he has to put that bunker down, even though there's literally no Zealot. The core is just now finishing, but he doesn't know that. So he has to put this bunker down. He has to play safe as he can, considering this greedy opening.
Well, the scary thing is, as well, you're just not going to have enough Marines to deal with even a Mothership core if it came up the middle of the map.
Yeah.
So, let alone like a Stalker or even an Oracle. And an Oracle would just do way too much damage. It would almost be game-ending if it was a proxy Oracle.
Yeah. Or if it was even like a Zealot Stalker Mothership core just pressuring, could do so much damage. It's way too much.
But, you know, he's really playing against Zest's style, and Zest isn't, you know, the type to be too overly aggressive early on. He's not a parting. He's not a Myungshik. He's a pretty safe player, and he loves his macro style.
Yeah. He's not even a hero, you know. He's not going to even have like a Blink Stalker opening to pressure, which could do a lot at this point. He is going to follow up with that Twilight, but it's not a quick Twilight. It's enough time where Dream can actually respond. And with his early drops, he's going to go for. He's probably going to scout this tech, and we'll be able to respond accordingly. Widowmine's coming out here. Not Hellions, not just yet, if we're going to see any of those.
Perhaps as we see this reactor go up on the racks, I think we might see that switch out. It's going to be that, you know, 6 Marine drop into Hellion run by kind of style, but off of CC first, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's very quick after CC first, which is that greed that we're talking about, that vulnerability, which Zest just has not simply been able to exploit. So it works out pretty well for Dream in this case. This Widowmine going to hide back here, stop any sort of early Oracles that might try to run in, and then he can just pick it up on his way out with that medevac. He might decide to leave it back anyways and not send it to the drop, but I think he'll probably pick that up.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. This is another one on the way. It might actually just be a double Widowmine drop with 4 Marines. Now that I look at it, 2 more coming out, so it all times out actually perfectly. There we go. He's going to begin the mine dropping, something that Dream is so good at. These two. All right, no Marines in it though. He's going to keep them at home for now.
Yeah, I think he knows that he's a bit vulnerable if he doesn't leave those at home. The Mothership Core does have enough energy for Nexus Cannon, and the Observer is about to pop out, so it's really about whether he splits the mines into 2 mineral lines or not, about how much damage they can get done. Shouldn't do too much, but it will get probably a little bit of damage done here.
Yeah, even if they get shut down, it's a small investment to pull the probes, and here we go. He's going to try for it. Everything getting triggered.
And it goes double into 1 mineral line, loses his medevac, and gets 1 probe. The second Widow Mine is not even going to trigger. Oh, I take it back. 1 probe popped out the last second.
Well, stopped mining for quite some time, so still a little bit of damage there.
And he's got a good follow-up to this. He's powered up his barracks now. He's got stem and combat shields, +1 even on the way. But there is going to be a time period where Zest is going to have Colossus tech out before stem is ready, and he can take a 3rd base whenever he wants to, considering the opening here. And I think he's going to do that right now. He's got this probe ready. Now he's going to have this 3rd base when he knows that Dream doesn't have a ton of units to attack with him just yet, and he can just use his Colossi to defend the first push that comes out.
Yeah, Dream is the kind of Terran that loves to be pretty relentless with his dropping there, so I can't imagine him just continually doing this again and again and again, trying to force units out while he eventually takes his 3rd base, trying to just whittle down what he can.
Yeah, and this blink is so important for that as well. And it looks like Zest is just going to take that blink and defend with it, as he even commits to Colossus range here right now because he has the time to do it. He knows that.
No forges just yet either. I'm wondering if we're going to see that similar sort of CJ Hero style double forge into just, you know, mass gateway units and Colossus to kind of shut down everything he can. Maybe a transition to Storm in the late game, but not really necessary so long as you've got the upgrades in the units.
Oh, there's 1 forge for now. Could add the second one in just a second. Committing to that second Colossus first as he sees this army. With his Observer, he knows that an attack is imminent. A big attack, in fact.
Oh, yeah. That's a triple drop.
He's going to try to intercept this with his Stalkers. That Marine Scout is so important. If Dream didn't have that, he might have lost some medevac or 2 there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, with Blink Stalkers like this, ooh, a lot of potential there to get rid of these medevacs. Yeah, but still, this push is going to be pretty scary. Only 1 Colossus out so far to help out with these Stalkers, and that's pretty vulnerable. We've seen Mario deal with this kind of tiny army really easily with Bio.
And this is 10 Marauders. This isn't just a puny Marauder count. Force fields are going to be important here as well. Good Stalker targeting. That second Colossus is out now and needs to get it over here. He's going to actually kill this cooling tower, which I like a lot, which should delay the push enough, or you can get another warp in, and that should be a good enough buffer to stop this attack. And Dream needs to be very careful about how much he commits to this, because if he ends up losing this entire army, then his 3rd base is so vulnerable after that.
Yeah, it's just finished now, so he's kind of catching up in economy. He does have potential to do a lot of damage here, as long as he gets a nice concave, nice spread, and attacks from multiple angles, so Force Field Zone nullify everything.
Just he has to use his control with his Marauders especially, because he doesn't have any Vikings, and he won't anytime soon. Scan here to try to identify exactly how this is positioned.
That is 3 Colossi now. That makes it a little bit harder, and actually Dream's going to turn this around. Really nice defense from Zest. He's even got a bunch of cannons in his natural, just in case a drop might come in.
I feel like Dream might have to pull the boys in a second here when this +1 armor finishes if he wants to continue playing like this, because his army is so small. He doesn't have the tech that he needs. And Zest is just going to get further ahead. He's going to be able to add a second forge and keep chrono boosting upgrades in a second.
He might just have to, because he hasn't invested in an armor yet, so he can know. Oh, it looks like he's going to invest in it now just as the armor's finishing. Yeah,
and those extra gases at his 3rd base.
Ooh, a little bit late. And here we go, a bit of a run by into the natural. Going to be going for the Nexus.
He's just going to try to not fight this Protoss army straight up. He goes for the Nexus here, and is going to be able to lift out. Meanwhile, that 3rd base army, he needs to be careful with that. He's probably just going to pick it up and run it away. Stalkers do try to chase, but I like this move because he's just trying to say, all right, you have the better tech, but you can't be everywhere, and I have enough Marauders so I can burst your Nexus down and escape. That was really well done.
Yeah, it was a perfect maneuver there. He didn't really take much damage at all for that. He got out with most of his army. So Zest can't counterattack. He's got to remake that Nexus and kind of just wait it out.
Yeah, if he tries to do a big counterattack right now, he's too vulnerable to drops. There's still way too many medevacs on the map, and Viking production has now started with a second starport.
Look at the supply lead.
Yeah. He's up 40 supply, and he knows exactly what he's doing here. He knows what his advantages are. He knows that he has his larger army, but he can't fight the Protoss army straight up, so he's just going to avoid it and then add that second starport to eventually have that tech that he needs.
Well, he can almost, fight it if it comes out in the map as well. This whole army is going to be split up so many times because of the threat of drops. Even at this point, we do see like half the army in the natural, half of it at the third base. And he's going to pull it apart and, do a quad drop into the natural, maybe even cancel it once again.
That's a good good reaction here. He's going to shut this down. Good force fields by Zest as well, actually, to kill that small army that was at the third base. And he is defending this quite well.
That was a nice deflection, yeah. If he kind of went through the back of the third and into the main base, he could do so much damage, but it is the most vulnerable place of all. Yeah. Everything would have to kind of reshuffle, especially from the natural. Maybe get a Forge, maybe even a Templar Archives if he was daring enough.
The Observer to the bottom left of Zest's base is just the key to spotting everything. Zest is just now adding a second Forge, which is somewhat concerning because Dream has been ahead in upgrades for a little while now and is actually almost halfway done with his 2-2, whereas Zest hasn't started his 2-2 yet, so Dream is going to have some timing windows where he does have the better upgrades. Storm is a concern, though, that he doesn't have any answer for just yet.
Yeah, that is the big problem. That's going to really equalize any sort of upgrade advantage the Dream might have if the Storms are there. Only a couple of Templar down already so far, and they do have one Storm each, which would be more than enough to kind of deflect this army so long as they land. Not many Vikings so far.
No, that's true. Good Observer placement again here by Zest, spotting that army that dropped to the north. Scan goes down. He's trying to clear up any observers that might be watching him so he can approach at least somewhat undetected exactly how the units are coming through. This is going to be such a difficult engagement to take for Dream right now, though, with no answer for Storm.
Oh, yeah, it looks like he's freeing up supply, actually. Get a couple of Ghost out finally. He's realized he's dealing with some High Templar with Storm. Gotta be careful.
Hate to be that Marauder that's just the guy who has to die so that Ghost can be made.
Maybe he just doesn't know until it happens, so it's okay. It's like instant sort of commands, like, kill this guy now. He dies, so he doesn't really get to think about it.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be too stressful. Well, 2-2's done. He's got a few Ghosts here. But taking this engagement is still just going to be so difficult. There's so much AoE.
Look at this DT tech as well. 2 DTs out, it's going to delay everything, force more scans out. And that's a perfect way to kind of just really hurt the economy of the Terran because he can't be making mules. He just has to be scanning constantly and saving them all.
This is not a good position here for Zest. His Storms were a bit late. He lost to Colossus there.
He did. That's a pretty decent number of Vikings now, sitting at around 12. Still, he's going to deal with a lot of Storms.
Yep. If he tries to commit to this base, it's going to cost him big. But look at the positioning on these Vikings right over this cliff. Forces Zest back, and Zest is taking way too many losses. He's wasted so much DPS. Where are the Storms? There's the very first one, but the Vikings have already done what they needed to, and now they're going to land.
The EMP stopped the second Storm from coming in, so he could shut it down, but here comes 2 more.
Still just not enough here. Look at the supplies right now. And even though a ton of this is in those Vikings, they can still continue to fight. That base, that fourth base, was, of course, canceled. And Dream is continuing to push this. He's got so many medevacs, and he's got a bunch of units rallied up at home. And don't forget, he has 3-3 on the way.
3-3 on the way. Such a composition. Can really deal with anything at this point. I don't think there's anything he can do.
GG. He had 2-2 upgrades versus Zest 1-1 in that fight as well. Plus, I think he even had the +1 for his Vikings.
Yeah, he had everything he needed. He just did so much damage. Killing that natural just gave him so much more time and such an economic advantage. His army was simply way too big. And great positioning, with the Ghosts and the Vikings. Not really taking many Storms at all.
Dream, a bit of a ceremony there. Just waving Zest off.
He is playing so good these days. Dream is just on another level. One of the best Terrans for sure.
Zest can't be too unhappy losing to a great Terran like this. His defense was solid, but just couldn't get his Templar in position fast enough. Then that EMP came down and prevented the second Storm, as you said. It was just like he got blindsided by the angle that Dream decided to go for. And Dream was consistently scanning to make sure there were no observers that could spot where his army was moving. And then he just got in the perfect spot next to that fourth base where I feel like Zest was a bit indecisive. Do I let my fourth base go? Do I try to defend it?
Yeah. Yeah, that was such a hard place to be, and he was so far behind in army supply as well. So if any fight he could take, he'd have to be in like such a advantageous position to win it, and he just never got any sort of Storms off that really could change the fight.
Well, Dream had a rough time, or not excuse me, Dream, Zest had a rough time there at the end, and he's just been having a rough time in general, man. This guy is no longer the unstoppable Protoss, the confident Protoss that we've seen in the past. He's definitely run into some tough opponents. I mean, he made it very far in the Star League. He made it to the round of 8. That's no easy feat, but he got knocked out there. He hasn't had the best recent results in Pro League, and now losing to Dreams. So it's got to be pretty frustrating for the guy.
Yeah, he's fallen pretty fast since we saw him, end of last year. Even he was just winning so many games, looking unstoppable. But enough of that. Innovation versus Flash next. Man, what a TVT.
It's going to be great. Flash has shown us some great TVTs in the past. And innovation is innovation. He has had solid TVT as well, but the guy just has a ton of success in general in Pro League. Got a great win rate. And it's really hard to call who is favored in this one because Innovation has had, a bit of predictability in his recent matches, especially in the TVP matchup.